One, two, three, eyes on me is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of elementary school. I remember it like it happened yesterday. I recall the times when we were able to go outside and play in the playground with our friends. I remember being in class and a teacher introducing us to the alphabet and how to count. I remember having story time and learning how to write. It is clear that I would like to talk to you guys about elementary teaching. To prepare for this speech, I watched What Does an Elementary Teacher Do video, and I also came in contact with 2 articles that gave me a better insight into the life of an elementary school teacher. So today, I'll be talking to you guys about elementary teaching. First, by discussing the history of this profession. Second, what a person in that profession does. And third, the pros and cons of his career. With that being said, let's begin talking about the history of teaching. Teaching for both women and men began in the early 1800s, but the first American schools opened up in the 17th century. The first trace of teaching in our history traces back to Confucius, who hired private teachers to educate his children at home. At first, it was only known for men being teachers, but eventually in the 1800s, women began to teach in schools. The first taxpayer public schools opened in Dorchester, Massachusetts in the year 1852, which allowed both women and men to teach at. Massachusetts and Virginia were the first 2 states to pass laws that required that every 50 families had an elementary school built by them. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that separate but equal schools were unfair and wanted public schools built throughout the United States so they can hire teachers for them to teach at. As time went on, the methods that teachers were using kept advancing and were useful for students while learning in the classroom. Now that you guys know some history about teaching, let's find out what a person in that profession does. According to education students, a teacher's main duty for young kids is to devote their efforts to children's mental and emotional development, as well as their ability to socialize with others. What this means is that the teacher has to teach the students how to have a healthy mindset and guide them on the right path for the future. Being an elementary teacher, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. Before class begins, they are responsible for creating lesson plans to teach the students subjects and skills, for example, like English or music. It is important to always have good communication skills in class because it shows the students how to communicate with others and can be used in the future, whether it's for school or used at work. While in the class setting, teachers need to have a good attitude because it shows young children how to treat one another. Working as an elementary teacher, you have to dedicate your time to your students and help those that need extra help. What this means is that you need to give your all in helping young kids and prepare them for the future. Working with elementary kids, it is important as teachers to communicate with their parents on their progress in class and give them feedback on their child's day-to-day school day. Being that the students are in elementary school, you have to make the kids comfortable in the classroom setting, for example, by decorating it. Even though I have always wanted to be an elementary school teacher, there are pros and cons that come with this profession. According to careersalot.com, when you are a teacher, it comes with a lot of advantages and disadvantages. One pro would be working with young kids for me would be having a passion for working with kids. Since I was about 7 years old, I have always known that I wanted to work as an elementary school teacher and help kids in subjects that they need help with. One con would be that the students would not be as self-sufficient as kids in high school. Working with young children, you have to help them when it's needed or if they have questions. The second pro of this profession will be making a difference in a child's life. By teaching them, it helps them shape themselves into the people that they want to be in the future. The second con would be an elementary school teacher would be that you're always busy. Not saying that is a bad thing, but sometimes you would want some time to yourself and not have to worry about anything or having to help anybody with something. The last pro of being a teacher is being able to learn from your students. I think it's interesting when you can learn from a child of 5 years old or the stories that they could tell. The last con would be the low pay that a teacher receives for their work. It is important to know that teachers are one of the many careers that are underpaid, so if you're planning to go in this career for that reason, you're not going to be as satisfied as getting paid as if you worked as a doctor. So today I talked to you guys about first the history of elementary teaching, second what a person in that profession does, and lastly the pros and cons of working in that profession. The overall message I want you guys to know is that being a teacher is not easy, and it takes a lot of time to prepare your lessons for your students. A great saying by Mufasa Ataturk explains the job of a teacher is a good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others.